Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome back. Joining me in studio now are intrepid reporters, fresh off doing some real reporting for Bilderberg 2015. Joining me now, Rob Dew and Josh Owens. So guys, what are your closing thoughts on Bilderberg 2015?
Well, I think two things for myself is that if you act like a victim, if you act like a sheep, you will get treated like a sheep. And we didn't do that when the cops got in our face. We put the cameras right back in their faces. It backed them down. And that's something you can use in any situation at any time is just, if a cop's doing something tyrannical, put a camera on them. And they're either going to freak out or they're going to back away, or they'll do both. But that is one way to stop that type of behavior from police. And another thing is we have to stop this notion that our political leaders can get together where we fund all the expenses, especially the security, and that they can have these secret meetings. They do it at Bohemian Grove. They do it out here at Bilderberg, wherever Bilderberg's going to be. But the Federal Reserve was started as a secret meeting.
Right.
And every time they do these things in secret, bad things happen to us. So we have to get rid of the notion that secret societies are okay and that we shouldn't be privy to what these people are talking about, especially when they're elected officials getting together or they've been appointed by elected officials to get together. We need to know what they're doing. If they are under taxpayer-funded payrolls, which almost every single one of those guys were from the United States side, then we need to know about it.
Right, exactly. Well, and of course, the taxpayer funding that goes into that massive amount of security that they set up every single year. So, Josh, what did you think about that tyranny?
It was ridiculous, as everyone saw in the videos. Something I wanted to mention that I just noticed before I came on air. Charlie Skelton just wrote no, actually, the article came out yesterday. It was on The Guardian. Apparently, there was a shot fired at Bilderberg this year, and it was done by Cobra. According to his article, when one of the members of Cobra was getting into their helicopter, the gun discharged and shot a hole into the helicopter. So I think that raises the question, why would Cobra have weapons that are not even on safety getting in a helicopter that are that have live rounds? Nothing was going on there where that was necessary.
Right.
The protesters that were out there weren't even that many.
No.
The press that was out there, we know there was a couple of international press, RT, maybe one other, The Guardian. It's completely ridiculous, and it's a perfect example of them shooting themselves in the foot with they're hurting themselves covering up for these people.
Right.
These people are going to damage their lives just as much as anyone else. The people inside that building that they're protecting, they could care less about them, yet they're spending their days protecting them. And I think,
acting like they care.
Exactly.
It was like really concerned.
And when you question them on the mountain cops on the mountain, they said, there's nothing we can do about it. This is just our job. This is just what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's completely ridiculous, and they are a defeated people.
Yeah.
We saw that in the people in the city. We saw that in the cops.
What was it like going through all the checkpoints constantly?
Well, could you imagine if all the cops just stood up and said, no, we're not going to play security for these people?
Well, that's how it is here in the U.S. as well.
You're going to have to pay private security to do it.
The police aren't protecting us anymore. They're going out and doing the jobs that their politicians are telling them to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
go out and get.
It's ridiculous, and we have to stop
enforce
that.
Our laws.
We have to stop that mindset, and the only way to stop it is for the people on that side to stand up, and that's a universal truth, and that's where we're at today. We have to keep exposing this stuff so it brings more awareness to it. I was a little disappointed in the amount of press that was there.
Yeah,
there was some good activists there. But I don't think there was enough. Wasn't nearly enough.
Yeah, and it seemed like last year we saw a lot more coverage of Bilderberg just across the board, and it did seem that was really when they started putting out their press release and their agenda, and here's everyone that's that we're gonna let you know who will be in attendance.
Well, and they've taken a step back. The reason they've taken a step back is because they're working on TPP. They're trying to get that passed. There's a little bit of a stumbling block.
The U.S. election, they don't want anyone to
they don't want
see
anybody,
the ties there.
If Jeb Bush was there, we didn't know it. We didn't see it.
Well, it was their big people there.
Hillary's PR person.
And Jeb's,
Yeah. So we know those people were there. Maybe that's how they were vetting them through. We know the war in Ukraine was a big issue there. I just looked at footage of U.S. soldiers training they're soldiers. And these guys, the soldiers they're training look like they're 19, 20, 17, just look like young kids. And they're training these guys to be cannon fodder so the special forces warfare can continue to operate unobstructed.
Right. And then, of course, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, all of these things that are major issues. Meanwhile, as that's going on, the federal government here suffers a major breach of security, gets hacked into. The NSA doesn't even discover it themselves. It was an outside private company that said, oh, hey, by the way, did you know that you've got some malware attached to all your federal files here? And
that
it's a
should
joke.
freak you out more than the fact that they're absorbing every phone call and every email.
Yeah.
The fact that they can get hacked and not even know it.
Right.
Or if they did know it, they just played stupid. I mean, that's another typical government strategy, to play stupid.
And they're telling us we have nothing to hide. We should have nothing to hide. So why are we worried? So let us suck up all of your information. So these are people that were, being vetted for Secret Service and things like that, having to say what, if they had any drug problems or really personal things. And now all of that information, if they're a spy or someone that's stationed in China, all of that information, they could be blackmailed with that, is out there now. But we're supposed to trust these people and give them all of our information, all of our data, that it can be breached at any point because, you know what, we've got nothing to hide. Well, so tell me a little bit about this report that's coming up.
Well, Josh did the editing. We shot it right after we did the Alex Jones show, the Sunday edition, that night up in the hotel that Josh and Paul were staying at. And we did a quick interview with Tillman, the guy who actually confronted Mr. Burnaby at the train station. And then while we were editing that together, we went and confronted some Austrian bankers and a media mogul who were just coming in for a cup of tea. So is there anything else special in the,
I think
in the video?
The report as a whole, I think it's important to focus on guys like Tillman, guys who aren't afraid to confront people, guys who aren't afraid to talk to people. And like he said in the report, he said he encouraged everyone to, if you see one of these guys out, go talk to them.
Yeah.
Right.
And he just had an $80 camera. It wasn't a big expensive camera. He got right up in their face, didn't stand back, and was asking real questions. And that's what we need more people to do. We need to be lecturing these people. Like I was lecturing the cops up on the mountain, just telling them what they needed to hear. Whether they agreed with me or not, 5, 10, 20 years from now, maybe it'll finally click in when they're totally just under, living in squalor going, God, why didn't we do something when we had the chance?
Well, like Bilderberg, the year that I was there, when all the cops were protecting the people who were in there deciding the austerity measures, and we kept telling them, they're going to take your pension too. You're not safe. And literally the very next day, the Sunday that Alex went on the BBC there, Ed Balls comes out and talks about how they're going to be taking the pensions from the police and the firefighters and everything. And we're like, see, we told you. And now I bet they felt like such jerks because that's who they were protecting. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for excellent reporting. Glad to have you back stateside and not in an Austrian gulag. Let's go ahead and take a look at that report, recapping Bilderberg 2015.
Rob Dew reporting for Infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News. Now, this is our last night here in Austria. We're in Mosern, Austria at the Four Friends Hotel. And I want to bring in Paul Watson in a second to talk about his thoughts about being here, Bilderberg 2015 in the Alps of Austria, and the massive police presence that we had to undergo continuously day after day that was then non-existent today, but then reappeared back at the airport along with the dignitaries and other scum and tyranny and villainy coming in and scurrying away on their planes as they were taking off back to their countries of origin. We're going to have Mr. Tillman as well talk about his confrontation with Franco Barnaby at the Innsbruck train station. So it was a pretty amazing time today. We got a lot of confrontations on tape. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts? What did you see? And how do you feel that with the lack of press coverage, mainstream media press coverage, how did the alternative media kind of pick up the slack of what was going on?
Well, we basically put the mainstream media to shame, but it wasn't difficult because they didn't actually physically send anyone here. CNN, Fox News, ABC, BBC, some of them wrote articles about it. In fact, Yahoo News made a big joke about it, about the lizard people meeting, but none of them sent people here. None of them sent people to be harassed by police all week, to hike up mountains, to be harassed by the mountain police, constantly checked, constantly under surveillance. And we did, so we're filling the gap for what is one of the most powerful and important conferences in the world today, and that's why it's important that we're here.
That's right, Paul. And I think one of the big unsung stories is that TPP fast track did not pass in the Congress. I mean, how big is that? How much does that affect Bilderberg at this point?
Well, we knew that TPP was going to be up for discussion because Klaus Kleinfeld was there. He is the head of Alcoa, but he's also part of the Business Roundtable, which is one of the major lobbying groups for TPP. And the collective wealth that they control amounts to $7.2 trillion. So this is a major player, a major lobbying organization for TPP. The TPA, the fast track that Obama wanted to get through, was defeated. Many expected it to pass. It was quite heavily defeated in the end. So a major defeat for Bilderberg, a roadblock to prevent that agenda, that crony capitalist agenda, which Bilderberg at its heart represents, from going through. So a crushing defeat for Bilderberg.
Yeah, I agree. A crushing defeat, massive amounts of police brutality going on here. I mean, just in-your-face cops arresting people. In fact, the guy we're going to bring up next, Mr. Tillman, actually shot probably the quintessential video of a protester being arrested, I think for crossing the wrong side of the street. That was the first video he shot. Now, after that, he didn't end there. He didn't rest on his laurels. He actually went to the train station in Innsbruck and got Franco Barnaby, one of the Rothschild vice chairs here in Europe. He got him on tape. Mr. Tillman, come on in here and tell us about that confrontation. And how did this all transpire? Like, how did you end up at the train station?
Well, it was actually all by accident because I wanted to pick up a friend at the train station. So then I suddenly see like a car pulling up in the back of me, and it was like a car from the Interart Motel. And someone comes out who looks really familiar to me, his name. And I didn't know his name, but I knew it is a Bilderberger, so I got one.
So what do they tell you when you come in about Chatham House rules? Is it like, do they say, hello, sir, you're not allowed to talk about this at all, or do they say you can give out something, a small thing to the press, or?
Well, there is normally when you participate to these events, there is an unofficial statement, and you should rely to the official. There's nothing secret. You just have to look at the official site of the Bilderbergs, and you will find everything. You will find the teams, you will find the participants, you will find everybody.
So what do you say about their influence? I mean, there's very powerful people there. Why does it have to be so secret?
Well,
I mean,
there is no secrecy. It's there is absolutely no secrecy.
I talked to the hotel guys.
It's just a private meeting.
And so, Mr. Tillman, you didn't get intimidated by seeing this turd of the Rothschild dynasty walking up to a train station. You actually went up, you followed him several times. You had to go back and move your car because it was in a no parking zone, but you stayed at it. You educated him. Over 12 minutes of footage of you confronting a Rothschild. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel pretty proud. I mean, it's like the message I want to give out to the people. I always say that on my channel, that you don't have to be afraid of these guys. You just go to them. They're just normal people. Like the politicians I interview in Germany, they just without protection, so you can go up to them, maybe even ask them for an interview. They're sometimes pretty friendly. So there's really no reason to be scared of it, because like you said, they are scum. So they should really have more respect for us, for normal people. So you should have no respect, just get in their face and tell them your opinion.
Exactly, exactly. And then while we were editing the footage of the Barnaby confrontation, we're finishing it up, and I look up and I see three guys walk in. At the tail end of this trail of scum was Oscar Bronner, publisher of Der Standard. And I said to you, there's Oscar Bronner. And before I could say anything else, you'd already grabbed your camera, stuck the memory card back in it, and you were up confronting more of these banker scum. Tell me who you confronted the second time.
The guy was Rudolf Scholten. That's a guy I actually knew by accident. He's famous in Austria. I'm from Germany. But he is the head of the Austrian Central Bank. The name is Control Bank. It's just on the list. I don't know. I guess it's the Central Bank. Maybe we should check that out. But he was on the TV in the ORF. That's like state TV in Austria. And he gave an official interview about the Bilderbergers for 12 minutes. And it was like not really a hard interview. But
of course not.
Yeah. But he asked him some questions and he didn't really answer. And the only critics he had about the Bilderberg group was that there's not enough women there, like some pseudo-feminism argument, but it wasn't really going down to the point what's really decided there. But that's where I knew him from, and you you knew the other guys, so we both confronted them. So it was really a great job. So
Yeah, we went out right on the upper deck, right on the tarmac, basically. And I got in Oscar Bronner's face, and asked him, told him who I was, introduced myself, and said, "Are you going to come clean with the agenda of the Bilderbergs?" And he goes, "Oh, what? Pretending like he didn't know what I was talking about. And then I went back because he left, and he went and got a cup of tea. And I said, "Look, if you don't want to get harassed like this, just come clean." He goes, "Oh, I am clean."
Mr. Bronner, you would not be harassed or asked questions as much if y'all would just publish what really happens at Bilderberg. You realize that? I mean, there's no reason to take 2,000 troops and close down an entire mountain for a supposedly private meeting. Do you think that's ridiculous?
That's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion.
So you think that's okay? I think you should come clean and tell everybody what really happened at Bilderberg.
I am clean.
All right.
Don't worry about that.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Your thoughts on Bilderberg 2015?
I mean, it was like they ridiculed themselves because they had like all this big police, and now we had the most confrontations ever. I mean, we had good confrontations last year, 2014, with Luke, Peter Sutherland, but we had maybe more confrontations this year, and we also had them all at the airport, which wasn't happening last year. So it's totally ridiculous because they had all this big security, the hotel was totally saved up by 2,100 policemen, and now we finally just got them at the train station. So it's ridiculous, and it cost $6 million at least for the Austrian taxpayers.
For the taxpayers, exactly. And then we went up this evening, we went to the Interalpen Hotel. We drove up, 2 cops at the front, let us through, no big deal. We drive up, we park our cars, we go take the elevator up to the first floor. Even the maitre d' down there says take it 0. We get up to the top. We're intercepted by a man named Abraham, who then tells us that we're to leave at this point. He calls the hotel manager, who then comes out. He's very rude. He's got his bald-headed cop buddy wearing the trendy, stonewashed jeans. He pulls out his Policia ID and tries to intimidate us that way.
As of now. Okay, without discussion. Otherwise,
so I don't want to have any discussion with any one of you. You have to leave
now.
The ground, the hotel, the whole area, Understood?
No. Okay, please.
I think understand means something different.
Okay. So
Where are our cars parked?
Yeah.
Wrong direction.
No, our car's
You
parked
go
here.
out here. You go out here. One. How many cars?
2.
Okay, 2 guys go and take the car. The other ones go out here. Okay, please.
We had a confrontation up on the mountain, up on Hue Munde, with the mountain Alpine police, and they came out of the woods. They took our passports. They took photos of them. They took photos of our hotel. They took photos of our press passes, and then they follow us up to the top. And then they try to tell us where we need to go walk. They said, "Go up, hike over there. Go hike over there." And we're just trying to get a drink and eat some lunch. And I had enough of it, so I started just basically dictating to them who they're governing, who they're trying to protect, and it really pissed me off. And one of the guys actually got so mad, he goes, "We have no choice. We have no choice." But these people do have a choice. At the end of the day, they can say no. If they all stood up and said, "We're not going to guard these people. This is ridiculous."
We haven't a choice.
No, you should
Be
stand
quiet
up.
now.
You should stand up for yourselves.
No.
You should. I'm serious.
Please
Arrest
sit down.
Kissinger. You'll be a hero.
No.
I don't have any guns. Completely unarmed.
I'm also.
All right.
They're afraid of real questions. And you notice, they didn't want to answer any real questions. They didn't want to speak to you. They wanted to try and ignore you, but they couldn't at the end. They had to at least say something to you. And that's where I think the power of the people lies, and the power of the camera. And tell people about, you don't have the most expensive camera in the world. Tell people about your camera.
I mean, I have like a $80 camera. It's like really cheap, but the sound works. It's okay. You got to get close to the faces. Yeah. And I had some really big successes before with this camera. I interviewed like a guy of the Green Party, a guy of the Liberal Party, and some people totally embarrassed themselves, like the guy of the Green Party. I asked him about Bilderberg, and he said, guys like me, we are conspiracy theorists, and we should go to mental therapy. And this got like 50,000 views, and everyone hated him for it. So it was like really great, and it's easy for everybody to do this. So this should really be like the first response of citizen journalism to do this and to ask these politicians.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, everybody has their duty out there to get out there, get a camera, and get in people's faces, especially when it's, these elitists and these bureaucrats and public servants that are supposed to be working for us, but they're not. They're taking contributions from giant corporations. They're taking their orders from Henry Kissinger, whatever it may be. It's your duty out there to get active and get involved, shoot video, post it on the internet, even if your friends don't like it. That's not the point. The point is doing what's right. It's not about, oh, what do people think about it? Okay, because that's why we're here. We're not here because people think we're great, especially the cops. I mean, we were looked down upon by the police constantly, day in and day out. Some of the people here, oh, why are you here? You're causing a nuisance. We're not causing a nuisance. We're not setting up roadblocks. We're not putting 2,000 troops on the streets terrorizing hikers. Okay, I interviewed hikers from England who were aggressively approached by the police while they were hiking in the woods. Totally ridiculous, total overkill. That's the main theme here at Bilderberg 2015, police overkill, and it can happen anywhere. So you need to be prepared. You need to be ready for the next Bilderberg, the next big event when these elitists get together. Be ready to confront them, because that's what it's all about. This has been Rob Dew for Infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News. And if you're watching this message right now, you are the resistance.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.